Chat. How are we doing today, chat? How's everybody doing? Welcome to another Healthy Gamer JJ stream. JJ. Just a reminder that although I'm a psychiatrist, nothing we discuss on stream today is intended to be taken as medical advice. So everything we're going to be talking about today is for educational purposes and entertainment purposes only. So welcome, everyone. Hope y'all are doing well. Got a super cool viewer interview today, so really looking forward to it. We're going to be talking a lot about, I think, because we never really know where things are going to go. We're going to be talking about, I think, contentment and happiness in the workplace. So we're going to, we'll see what's going on with our awesome person from our community who's going to be sharing some thoughts and feelings about, what their work situation is like. Couple of quick announcements before we dive in. One is, so week 1 of our April month of meditation is over. So week 1 has completed. Next week, we're going to be doing focusing meditations based on Dr. K's Guide to Meditation, I think. So people on Discord are getting together for, this month, and each week there's a different theme. So if you're interested in building accountability into your meditation practice, want to sort of like really get it rolling and finally kind of commit to like meditating on a regular basis, or go through lots of different techniques. So like each week we're sort of taking a different approach to meditation, and we'll be using different kinds of techniques. So it's a good opportunity to try to find the meditation that fits for you while building kind of a strong practice. So remember that one of the key attributes for success in meditation is Sangha. Sangha is the Sanskrit word that means community. And sometimes it can be really hard to just start meditating on your own. I mean, that's how actually most people end up doing it. But if you sort of have a good community that anchors you to practice, that sort of like, it helps you structure your practice so that you develop a good habit. Remember that habits take anywhere from 7 to 14 to 120 days to build, depending on what research study you look at. So if y'all are interested in developing your practice, hop on the Discord, join the club, and get your meditation practice going. So the other thing is that we've got, based on a lot of interest and feedback from the community, we have a lot more career-oriented events that are going on Discord. So every Thursday to learn about, if y'all are interested in learning about things like career progression, switching jobs, remote work, I imagine things like work-life balance and stuff like that. So we've got different kinds of events on Discord that y'all are welcome to check out. And yeah, so that's what we've got for you. Yeah. Questions, thoughts? We going for it? Oh my goodness, someone is asking a medical question. My head hurts. Tylenol or Advil? That's a question for your doctor, right? There are all kinds of different reasons why you would pick one over the other. So depending on what your symptoms are, right? What's going on with you, what's the origin of your headache? So like, it's like you can take medicine, but try to understand why you have a headache. Dehydration can be a common cause. Caffeine withdrawal can be a common cause. Migraines, tension, headaches. There are all kinds of things. Maybe we'll do a stream about learning about headaches at some point. That's actually probably a good idea. What can meditation do for you? Dangarts, what can't meditation do for you? Well, that depends. So like before we hop into the interview, so like we'll hop in just a second. But I mean, meditation, depending on what y'all are interested in, right? That's why you should meditate. So for some people, meditation helps with clinical things. So like as a medical practitioner, I'll teach meditation for the sake of a clinical benefit. So we want to reduce symptoms of ADHD, anxiety, or depression. So we can teach people meditation for that. Some people want meditation as an adjunct to things like psychotherapy. So that's a little bit different. So for example, if I'm working with someone who has a history of trauma, being able to like better understand and navigate your internal environment so that you can sort of enhance the effects of psychotherapy is another reason that you can do meditation. Those are both clinical, but very different. There are also different kinds of meditation that I've taught to cancer patients. Certain kinds of meditations that have been shown to like reduce pain. So you can kind of do like those kinds of, well, technically they don't reduce pain. They improve your ability to tolerate pain and make pain less painful, technically. But they don't actually lower your pain scores, at least the ones that I taught in the studies I've been a part of. So you can do things for medical reasons. You can also do things for like, meditations to improve relationships, boost empathy, become more compassionate, more understanding. There are insight-oriented meditations if you want to understand stuff better. And then if you're really interested in it, there's also like weird, esoteric, spiritual meditations about cultivating the energies of the universe. which are far less scientific, far more mystical in nature. And even I think on Wednesday, we taught the introductory meditation to cultivate things like an out of body experience. So it depends on what you're interested in. You know, what can it do for you? That depends. What do you want it to do for you? Okay, so let's see if we can hop into our interview. Let me find Megan. Megan. Ah, got it. Whoop, 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 whoop. Okay, let's hop in. Doot, doot, doot. Gotta get my hair out my face. Gotta get the hair out the face, you know what I mean? Okay. Got this. Let's do this. Let's do swapsies. Okay, my camera does not seem to be working. 1 second, buddy.
No problem. Just getting my hair out my eyes as well.
Awesome. Okay.
Don't have any.
All right, let me do this. I'm just trying to make sure that nothing gets jaleeked. And can you count to 10 for me?
Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Okay. Is there anything you can do to boost your volume just a little bit?
Yeah, how's this?
Oh, that's so much better.
Cool.
Perfect. Okay.
Talking loudly is the secret.
Talking loudly is the secret. Okay. So let's do, I think we're ready to, okay. Here we go. So, welcome, friend. Thank you so much for coming on today.
Thank you for having me.
So tell me a little bit about what do you go by, or how do you want to be called or addressed today?
Yeah, sure. Andy is fine.
Andy. Okay. So welcome, Andy. And is there something in particular that you want to talk about, or anything that we can help you with today, Andy?
Yeah, sure. So I could probably sum it up by someone somewhere said the problem with society now is that when people ask you what you do, they're asking who you are. And I'd probably identify with that. So I don't really have a self outside of my career.
Okay.
And that's kind of slowly dawning on me as time goes on.
You don't have a self outside of your career.
So I've done a bit of homework, right? So
Okay.
I watched a couple more videos than usual. I've not watched everything. And a couple of things stood out for me. So you kind of had a thought exercise, I think. Asking what do you enjoy, what interests you, what do you do for fun? When was the last time you were intellectually engaged? I can't really remember outside of work.
Okay.
Which is probably part of the problem.
Okay. And is this distressing for you in some way?
Yeah. So I guess I don't have a me. I don't have an identity. And in terms of, so I'm just floating down the river. Opportunities are coming my way through hard work, and I take them because that's the way the river's flowing. You've said things like this, I think, in the past about being an analyst and then blah blah blah. You're a exec.
Yep.
And that's fine, and so that's what I'm doing. But it seems a bit hollow. So it's like if I was playing Skyrim, but I was just learning how to be a blacksmith, and there was infinite levels of blacksmithing. So I keep doing it, and there's this whole world there, but I need the next level of blacksmithing. And when does it end? Well, it doesn't. You just kind of die one day. And what was your level of blacksmithing? What was your career position? It's kind of totally irrelevant.
Got it. So I'm kind of hearing you say that you're climbing a ladder, but it's sort of like a ladder to nowhere. And there are a lot of other things to do besides going like kind of straight up. Like you can go north, south, east, west. You can sail, you can hike, but you're not doing any of those things. You're just climbing a ladder.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. And the thing that's stopping me seems quite simple, isn't it? So just work less and figure out what you like to do. When I work less, I get anxious, really anxious. I think, well, I don't deserve the job that I have. I'll never get the next step if I don't keep working. And part of this comes from, I say it a lot to different people. What frustrates me is there'll be a problem and I might solve it 80%. And it frustrates me that there was probably a perfect set of actions or words that would allow me to solve the problem completely for any scenario in the world, right? Whatever it is. And so I try to kind of outwork that issue because someone is smarter and they'll get 85%, and someone else is quicker and they'll get 90%.
How do you feel when, have you ever gotten 100%?
Yeah, I've been 100% happy with, solutions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how does that feel?
Yeah, like I put the work in and got the 100%. Yeah.
That's what you did.
Yeah.
How does that feel?
Like a relief.
Okay. Do you feel
Then on to the
pride?
next. No, not really.
Okay. Relief for perfection. So when you act perfectly or
Well, it's not perfection, but it's the
closest human equivalent
yeah.
that Andy
Well,
can
yeah,
attain,
yeah.
and you feel relief. Okay.
Like I outworked my deficits, whatever they are, for whatever the problem is. Or I did. That was good. So I outworked whatever the deficits might be, lack of experience or whatever it is.
So you had certain shortcomings and you overcame them.
Yeah, everyone
Yeah.
does.
Everyone does? Really?
Well, everyone has shortcomings. Yeah.
Yeah. Does everyone overcome them?
No, I'm not overcoming them all the time. I guess that's the problem. It's kind of this hollow pursuit.
What's hollow about it?
Well, so what's hollow about it is I'm not happy.
How do you know
So
you're not happy?
because I feel the opposite.
Okay. Tell me about that. Help me understand that. What do you feel?
Well, like I don't know who I am. I don't have anything to offer personally. I have a partner for 7 years, and work interferes with that, and work has interfered with other relationships, and ruined them, and other stuff as well. It's not. I'm glad I'm with who I'm with. I don't have any regrets about not being with people in the past, but I'm not a very good partner. You know,
Isn't that a problem you can work on?
yeah, it is, but I'm compelled to remain industrious and keep my foot on the pedal.
What
Work wise,
compels you to do that?
I don't know. It's a
Okay.
compulsion.
Okay. How are you feeling right now, Andy?
Yeah, fine.
I noticed you started smiling somewhere in there.
Yeah, I don't know. I just
Is,
you just asked me why I was compelled, but I think that's I'm trying to say compelled because I don't know. It's just
yeah.
automatic.
I think it's a very good word. I think it's
Yeah.
I'm getting that vibe from you that you're not really in control, but you're moving. Like you're the one who's
Yeah.
doing the moving. You're just not sure why. Like I don't get the sense that you're actually floating down a river. I think there's a river that's moving in a direction. It's super shallow, and you're actually walking down the river.
Yeah. Yeah. Floating down the river sounds quite relaxing, doesn't it?
Yeah, I don't think that's exactly what's going on.
Yeah.
There's a
Maybe I'm
certain.
swimming upstream. I don't know.
Does it feel like swimming upstream or swimming downstream?
Upstream. I'm never going to get. It's that. It's infinite, isn't it? There's always another promotion or another step on the career ladder. So, yeah, it's against the current. Yeah.
Yeah. So you're unhappy?
Yeah.
I know it's going to be a weird, hard question. How do you know?
Because I feel shit sometimes, and then I kind of get busy again.
Ah, I see. So tell me about what you feel when you're feeling bad. Like, what is it? Like, how, if I were to be telepathic or
Hmm.
could somehow inject my consciousness into your experience, what
Yeah.
would feeling shit look like? What would I see? Is it thoughts? Is it physical sensations? Is it
It's like an emptiness through a sense of kind of wasting your existence in the world. And you might have different views, but for me, just one life, so you need to kind of live it. And then I don't know how, and I don't have any passions really. I'm passionate when I'm at work. I'm really passionate and really empathetic, and I put in the hours to help my team and try and change the culture and improve the culture and make everyone have a good work life balance, and everyone's happy and as happy as you can be coming to work. But I just don't have. I'm flat outside of work.
okay? Can you tell me a little bit about your work?
Um,
And
yeah. What do you want to know? So I'm a
but actually,
relatively.
but before we continue, I just want to make sure about a couple things. So since we're going to be talking about work, I just want to make sure that what you share today is not going to like get you in trouble at work.
No, it won't. I won't say any.
Okay.
It won't. Yeah, that's
I'm
fine.
not hearing
And
anything bad about your job, by the way. Just
no, no.
yeah.
And if no, it's not my job. It's me. It's not it's not work instructing me to overwork. It's
Yeah,
in
yeah.
fact quite the opposite. I get told by people to just relax and do less.
What does that feel
But
like?
no, it's easier said than done, isn't it?
Sure. What causes people to say that to you?
Um, I don't know what happens before they say it.
Yes, exactly.
Um, I'll be discussing a problem in a lot of depth, or I'll be wanting to solve something as it arises when it's not necessarily urgent and important. It might just be important.
Sure. I see. So you're working hard, and I'm
Hmm.
getting the sense that sometimes maybe there are people around you who in your shoes would not work as hard or wouldn't be solving non-urgent issues that are important. So like you
Yeah,
don't
maybe.
have yeah. Okay.
Maybe.
And yeah, so can you tell me just like what you do?
Um, yeah, so I'm kind of relatively senior manager of a large territory of depots,
Okay.
uh, transport hubs.
Okay.
So I have a region that I manage with managers within there, and then teams of drivers.
And how did you can you tell me a little bit about how long you've been in this field?
Uh, yeah, 10 years, 10 years in the field. Yeah,
And what was the first thing you did in the field? Can you like walk me through a little bit about your career trajectory?
yeah, sure. So okay, I used to I used to work from home doing something different, making not very much money, but it was actually editing, manuscripts and things like that, and that's what I love, and I think I still have it. Well, it's what I loved to do, I guess. I'm not sure I love it now. I don't think that was a slip of my subconscious.
Yeah, you can't say that you love something,
Yeah, yeah,
Andy.
yeah.
That's
No,
not
no.
allowed.
Yeah. No, no. I'm not sure if I don't think I do now. I don't think it's
Okay.
relatively. I don't think it's important to success to be grammatically correct.
Okay.
People above me are. Right? But anyway, I started as an admin assistant, a bit of a bitch, just do whatever anybody wants.
Mm-hmm.
And very quickly began managing the site, quite luckily. And my
Okay.
dad got me that job. That was pretty lucky. So I kind of happened upon it and then worked hard to get be the manager. It just kind of happened, actually.
Sure.
I didn't work towards it. It just kind of fell in my lap, actually.
And so you were an admin assistant, then you sort of it sounds like you applied yourself there.
Not really, actually. I just happened to be good at it at the time. So at the
Okay.
time, maybe I look older than I am. At the time I was 21. I didn't really care that much, kind of
Sure.
go and live life and have girlfriends and whatever, go out drinking with your friends and things. So I probably wasn't a very good employee, but I did get lucky and get the job. Yeah.
Okay.
Once I got the job, put the pedal down, I guess.
Help me understand that. What changed when you became a manager?
I think I've just said that, and that's not true. I think I'm kind of as though I'm in an interview, so I'm trying to promote my career, and I'm automatically probably giving you a different version there. So I didn't apply myself actually, so I recognized the opportunity and I did work harder, but I also still was only 21, so I didn't have the skills to do the job, but they gave me the job anyway, and I did my best really.
Okay. So that's interesting. So it sounds like you're very good at noticing what you convey to other people. And even though you may say something initially from like a narrative perspective, you're actually able to like go back and say and kind of like self edit and really share something that's more correct.
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't know why I just did that. It was kind of a reflex of, well, I mean, my girlfriend says to me sometimes, I'll just use her name, it's Michelle, um, that I'm managing her. So we'll be having an argument or just a disagreement, and she'll say, "You're managing me." And she's probably right. My language is still, I don't have usually or very rarely have when I'm at work, I speak a little bit differently than this, right? I kind of speak a bit slower and a bit higher pitched, and not intentionally, but you just do because I have a northeast accent. A lot of people don't understand it. Uh, and yeah, sometimes I speak to Michelle like that, I guess.
How does she know is it like the tone and pitch of your voice or the language you use or what?
Probably both, yeah.
Okay.
Probably both.
Okay.
Mm,
And then can
yeah.
you stop once she points it out to you?
Well, at the time I say, well, I'm not. I don't realize that I am, so I'm not. But I probably am, yeah.
So where you've been promoted to manager at 21, you're
Yeah.
doing better in terms of applying yourself, but you really haven't become the person that you are today.
No, no.
What
When did that
happened
happen?
next?
Uh, that I started to receive promotions, I guess. I don't know. When did this happen? I don't know.
You said you started to receive promotions. That sounds to me like
That's
go
good, funny.
floating downstream. Like, oh, like I walked into work today and there was someone was like, "Here,
Mm.
Andy, have a promotion." And then like a week
Yeah, okay.
later, you're like, "Oh, here, Andy, have another promotion."
If only, yeah. No, so, yeah. Sorry, am I audible, by the way? Because I'm kind of slipping into this droll tone. So, I think I have COVID, by the way, which is sounding a bit rough.
Okay.
Um, so, yeah, well, I earned them, I guess. So I was the best person at the time to that
Okay.
person
Do
who
you
hired me.
feel
To me.
proud of that?
Um, I feel an element of pride that I am in the position I am now at my age. It's quite unusual, I think.
What's
Well,
unusual
it is.
about your position at your age?
Um, no, none of my peers, all my peers are, you know, 20 years older than me at least. I hope none of them watch this. Maybe it might not be 20 years, but it looks to be 20 years.
Okay. So it sounds like you're quite senior. Can you give us a sense of, and I'm trying to figure out if you're, help me understand how big of a manager are you?
I've put on 30 pounds in the last 2 years, so quite big. But,
Okay.
um, no,
Like how many people do you manage?
so the team has maybe 200, 250, maybe more. So it fluctuates, but about that.
Okay. So I asked you a question, how many people you manage. And what was the
Mm.
since you're an editor, what was the subject of the word of the sentence that you responded with?
Well, my direct reports are you asking me how many direct reports I have or how many people I manage? Because my sphe- sphere of influence or duty of care is all of them, right?
Yeah. How does it feel to say that?
Um, well, a bit cliche. It's a
What's
bit
cle-
corny, isn't it? Well, it's a bit corporate, isn't it? I feel a sense of care for all my people, but it's true, I do. So
Yeah, so it's weird because I asked you how many people you manage. This is what I was zeroing in on. You didn't say I manage 250 people or I'm responsible for 250 people. You said the team is.
yeah, okay. Mm.
Do you see the difference between those two things?
Well, yeah, they're not my direct reports, so I don't manage them all. Thankfully, be even
Yeah.
busier.
So I think that there's that element to it, but I'm noticing that like you remove the first person from a lot of what you say, especially if it has to do with like you're like annoyingly humble.
Okay,
And I don't mean like I'm personally annoyed by it, but I mean like
I understand.
it's
Hmm.
excessively humble, right?
Okay.
What do you think about that? Annoyingly was a bad word.
No, no, it's. I'm not. You know, I don't. That doesn't sting me at all. Um, what do I think about that? I don't know. It kind of is what it is. I am where I am.
Okay, good. So and I think this is where, you make so like there are other people, I'm guessing you're somewhere around 30. We don't have to get into your exact age.
31, 31, very, very important.
Okay.
Not mid
So
30s.
so I think there are a lot of 31-year-olds who, if they were responsible for managing, let's say 250 to 300 people, would be egotistical about it, right?
Uh huh.
So you kind of point out, and I think you sort of own these as facts. You're just like, my peers are 20 years older than I am. So like, okay. The reason I'm zeroing in on this is because like, if we think about your problem is you don't know who you are. So we're dealing with issues of identity
Hmm.
and personhood.
Yeah.
And so some people get egotistical if they're 30-year-old hot shots, but your pendulum is swung the other way,
Mm.
right? Which is, I still think it's like off balance because I'm noticing that it's almost like I really have to like dig to get you to own something good that you've done. Like you're very like there's a third personness or a passivity that I'm noticing is like a theme. Does that make sense? Like I I
Yeah.
kept getting like people kept giving me promotions. It's like no, I mean you
Yeah.
probably earned like
That's what you mean. Yeah.
you see what I'm saying? So I can see that. So a piece of that is that, okay, I don't want to come across as arrogant and I'm not genuinely arrogant. Fine. But I'm wondering where, since you don't know who you are, it's almost like you're removing yourself from your statements.
I think a part of me is thinking, and the chances are really slim. Let's say someone who knows me is watching and then says, "You fucking fathead," uh, I, I guess I'm just realized that that's in the back of my head.
Yep. Right. So that's good to realize that.
Yeah, but I don't. I think that I don't care about that though. I wouldn't care if someone thought that. Yet it's in my head. So
Yep. It's absolutely shaping your language. I think that anyway.
okay.
Right. So like, and that's sort of how this works. But you want to say something?
Well, objectively, I'm doing really well. I know that. You know, I don't have much more to add there.
Do
But
you
yeah,
feel pride there?
I feel lucky. I feel fortunate.
There's that passivity again. You see that? There isn't any you in the equation.
Well, you've got to be good, but you've got to be lucky. So there's lots of elements of luck in my career. I've been lucky to have good bosses.
Sure.
I've been lucky to have be ready at the right moment for something that was really unusual to have occurred in the business.
Sure. So I agree with you that you've got to be lucky and you've got to be good. Which one do you keep talking about?
Yeah, being lucky.
Right? So like I'm not saying it's right or wrong, I'm just pointing it out to you.
Yeah.
So once again, because we're sort of saying like I don't know who I am, and like we're not hearing anything about you. I mean, the way that you talk about this,
Mm.
you'll
Yeah.
sort of like, I didn't work very hard. My dad got me like, so you share that detail. You
Mm-hmm.
share like the one detail from the last 10 years that you don't get to take any credit for.
Interesting. Yeah.
And I imagine over the last 9 or 10 years, like you've done something, right? And if I push you on it, you'll admit it because you kind of know that that's right. But there's something going on in your mind that removes you from the equation.
Okay, so I guess I feel it could all just go. I could fuck up or something could happen and it all just falls down. I'm not. So while I'm saying I don't have an identity, and my identity is my work, I also feel like that can go at any moment. So
Yeah, that
it's not. It's not. So it would be. It would be. So I don't feel like I don't feel like there's anything to brag about because it can just go. It can
yep.
just.
Yeah. So good. Let's dig into that for a second, okay? And I got to ask you about your upbringing at some point. Don't let me forget. So
Okay.
let's think about what your mind is doing by no, so what I'm hearing you kind of say is, okay, I'm pointing out to you, Andy, you're not letting yourself have an identity or any kind of pride about work, right?
Mhm.
I'm sort of saying you're removing yourself from that equation. Is that
Yeah.
clear? It may not
Yeah.
be right. Let's
Yeah.
be
No. Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. It's
So
probably right as well.
if it could all go up in smoke, how does that tie into your mind being unable or trying to resist giving you a work-based identity?
Can you repeat that?
Yeah, this is a sort of a, I'm pushing you here. I can just explain it.
No, say it again. Just say it
Yep.
again. Just say it.
So so I asked you, why don't you let yourself have an identity about work, right? Why don't you why don't you feel pride? You sort of admit, I can grudgingly push you into admitting that you're proud. But generally speaking, I keep getting lucky. My dad got me the job. I just kind of showed up. I don't know. I'm the youngest, like a manager of 250 people at the age of 31, and everyone else is 50. Like, I don't know. I got lucky. Right? So there's no ownership, pride. Okay? So then when I ask you about that, you say, well, it could all go up in smoke.
Mm-hmm.
So how are those two things related? What is your mind doing by not letting you be proud of your work?
If I draw a painting, paint a painting, it's there. I've done it. It's just a mo- it, it's tangible and it exists. It might get burnt down or whatever, but it exists and you did that. A painting. You could. I'm trying to think how you destroy a painting, but yeah, it gets
Sure.
burnt down or whatever. But you did that, and it's this thing. It's a snapshot. It's done. The career is ever moving, isn't it? So
Sure.
there's nothing obtained. I'm
Yeah.
struggling with my language, but it feels like there's not. I'm struggling.
No, you're doing great. So I think you've conveyed it. So what I'm getting is that with a painting, it's tangible, right? You can say, I built this.
Mhm.
So there's something concrete that your pride can rest on. There's a
Yeah,
foundation.
yeah.
But a career is fluid.
Hmm.
And if you were to base your identity or take pride in your work, what does that open you up to that a painting, because a painting is safe in that way. Does that make
Hmm.
sense?
Yeah. Well, you've you get wrecked, don't you?
Absolutely.
Mm.
So I think that's important because I wonder if what you're doing is like you're not letting yourself have an identity that could be taken away from you.
Well, I don't want my identity to be work, though.
Okay. So that's fine too. We'll
Hmm.
get to that in a second. But
Yeah.
are you okay with a part of it being work?
Well, yeah, it's, the majority of my time, so it will be, won't it? It will be part of
No.
who
I
I am.
mean, you're actively fighting against that, right? So that's because you don't own what you do at work. I mean,
Hmm.
you do
Okay.
like practically, but like,
Hmm.
I think what's going on here is that I think you're afraid of letting a piece of your work, your identity be your work for two reasons. One is because you don't want it to, you're afraid maybe that all of your identity will be work based then. And you don't want to be one of those people. And you're trying really hard to not be one of those people, which is good in a sense. But I think the other part of it is that I'm sort of getting a sense that you don't want your identity to be based on something that isn't a strong foundation. Because if work blows up in your face, then your identity goes with it.
Yeah. Okay.
What do you think about that?
Um. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. If I kind of built my ego around it, that would that would be unfortunate, wouldn't it?
Yes, that would be. And I don't think you're willing to risk that. What do you think?
I don't know what attaching my ego to work looks like. I can't even comprehend it really to understand to answer you.
Okay.
So I can't uh, I can't understand what avoiding that is looking like, other
Yeah.
than through the conversation.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay, that makes sense. So that's a completely acceptable answer. So I'm going to
Mm.
just sort of ask you one kind of like question one more time. Do you let yourself feel pride?
Yeah, I'm really competitive, and with shallow things, if I make a better sandwich, or anything, hell yeah, I tied those shoes. Yeah.
Okay. How do you feel when you do that?
Uh, yeah, good. Usually it's jovial, isn't it? Well, always, yeah.
Yeah. So you're competitive. So there's usually there. So that means that like you take pride in things when you outperform other people.
Oh, definitely, yeah. Especially at work, yeah. But secretly, you know.
Okay.
So I'm racing and no one else knows.
Huh?
I'm kind of racing and no one else knows.
What does that feel like to be?
No, but silly, I guess, yeah.
What's silly about it?
Um, well, it's not a real victory, is it, if no one else is racing you? But I like to try to be, the best at whatever it is. Whatever it is, anything. And the only thing, and I've had to let go of that a little bit just for time. Uh, I'm spending too much time at work, so I have to think. Sometimes just think, fuck it, just send it out, or you know, relatively inconsequential things.
Why do you think you compete with other people who don't know that they're competing?
Well, everyone's competing, really. Everybody, it's everyone has a ranking of competency, don't they?
Sure.
And so
But
it's just chipping away at that. Not chipping away at them, but kind of chipping my way up.
yeah, so Andy, this is going to be hard, but I hear two parallel conversations.
Hmm.
So there's like the reality of things, which your mind says logically. And then sometimes when we're talking to you, you dig a little bit deeper and there's like more emotion. You'll start to grin, right? And then
Yeah,
you'll,
I'm trying. I'm trying. I'm trying, but
yeah, I think you're doing great. I don't mean to imply that. What I'm saying is that I think this is
yeah.
exactly what's going on is that you've got this surface level conversation. And then
Yeah.
sometimes if we ask the right question, like we'll get some life. We'll like,
Okay.
and so then you'll kind of grin and you'll sort of say like, it's not really fair if you're the only one who knows you're running a race, right? And there's almost this like mischievous
Yeah.
little,
Yeah.
but I get life from you there. And then if I ask you about it, you'll go to like, oh
I'm
well,
trying to I'm trying to think really hard to answer the
yeah,
question, and I don't want. I have a bad habit of joking too much personally, but in personal life,
okay,
not never serious. Blah 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 has been the motif in my personal life probably. So can you just take something seriously? Whereas at work, it's actually the opposite.
what's the opposite at work?
Uh, not as well, more serious, more stoic, pragmatic.
So you joke too much in your real life and you try to rein that in?
Yeah, I don't try. It just happens now, I guess. I don't think. Oh, I won't say that. Actually, sometimes I do think that. Yeah. Oh, I won't say that. That'd be really funny, but I'm not going to say that. Sometimes it's really immature, like that's what she said, but you just can't say those things in the type of meetings I'm in. I would love to, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Can I think for a second?
Yes.
Okay. Can you tell me a little bit about what growing up was like for you?
Yeah. Really good. Great childhood.
Tell me about that.
Uneventfully stereotypical. Going out with friends and doing whatever until it got dark. I sound like a boomer a little bit, maybe. I'm not a boomer, I'm 31, but, just going out and doing stuff before that, had,
You sound like a boomer because you used the word out.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah, yeah,
I'm envisioning that you were outside with other humans,
yeah, 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 yeah,
which makes you a
yeah,
boomer because that's what
yeah,
the
but,
boomers did.
yeah, yeah. So, going out and playing and coming back and getting dirty and having my own room and had a PC and my dad did everything he could to, buy things for us.
Okay. So what was your family situation like at home?
Yeah, mum and dad in love, for the most part. Yeah.
And any siblings?
Uh, yeah, a brother. Yeah.
And are your and it sounds like your dad worked and your mom was at home?
For the most part, yeah. In memory, yeah. I think she worked a little bit when I was really young, but for yeah, yeah. So my dad worked all the time, and I'm modeling myself off my dad, and I'm working loads. Yeah,
Are
yeah.
you? I don't.
Yeah, I don't know. I think so. Yeah. Like I said, I try. I don't self-reflect, but I try to ahead of the call. To sit down and think about stuff.
You
And
don't
I got
self-reflect?
Well, I do. I do in my career. I do in order to, what skill do I need for whatever's next. But I
Okay.
don't really self-reflect at home until I've realized, well, I'm not fucking happy here. What the hell's going on? I need to do something about it. And then I was just happened to be on YouTube, saw one of your videos again, thought I'll just I'll ask the man.
Sure.
So yeah. So then I did some self-reflection, and I kind of thought about my dad and well, actually, first of all, I moved from what makes me happy to what makes me sad because I couldn't think of a lot of things that made me happy. And the main thing I could, the main thing I came up with is films. I don't know if it's superficial to cry at a film and that's not like real emotion or something, if it's tapping a vein of something. But I kind of wrote down the films that made me cry, and they're all films. So one is Fences. Have you seen Fences?
No.
It's a film with Denzel Washington in, which is not relevant. And he's a uh, it's the 19 something 20s or 30s or something like that, and he's a obviously a black man. He's a parent of a son, and I do forget the what time it was, but essentially the dad is living in one world, which is the world where things are not fair, and he will only advance so far because of systemic racism. And the son is, there's still, it can't be 1920s, but he's kind of getting a potentially a football scholarship, and he's living in a slightly different world with slightly more opportunities. Still fucked, still not right, but so they're different in that way. And there's a scene in that film where he says to his dad, why don't you like me? Right? Because the dad's just on him all the time to be disciplined and stuff. And there's no parallel there for my dad, by the way. But he says, I don't have to like you. I work all day. I put clothes on your back. I feed you. You know, who says I gotta like you? What lawyer said I gotta like you? It's all this kind of, it's just duty. And anyway, he's not happy. He cheats on his wife. It's all fucked. Everyone hates him. But all he's done he's just worked and worked and worked. And he dies, obviously, because everyone does in the film. And it's just so tragic that he's just worked and worked with a sense of duty, worked and worked, and then he's just fucking dead. Not only is he dead, but the people he worked for, as in his family, kind of hate him or hated him at one point. I'd not seen the film for a while, but I was bawling my eyes out like never before at that film, and thought immediately that my dad just works all the time and worked for the family, and um, it was there's a parallel with the work ethic, but not with but he didn't treat
Sure.
me in that way.
So you never felt like your dad didn't like you?
No, never, no,
Yeah.
and no, loved me unconditionally no matter what. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And then it was just other films, and they were all about father son relationships. I guess it's a bit weird.
What's
But
weird
if I
about
speak to
that?
my well, it's just weird, isn't it? That's a really specific thing to just tap at to have a toothache about.
Okay. If you say so. I don't think
Yeah.
so.
Well,
So
well, it's no,
so it seems like those kinds of they strike a chord with you.
yeah, they strike a chord with me. Yeah, they hit a nerve. That's why I'm saying toothache. They just
Yeah, yeah. And but
yeah
why do you think that's weird?
because I don't know why.
Okay.
Everyone,
So
everyone will have a nerve, but it won't be that. It'll be some people will, but for others it'll be something else. I
maybe
just
the reason it's weird is because it actually does not mirror your experience. Because you do have a dad who loves you and supports you and stuff like that.
yeah, but the bit that's tragic is just working and working and working and working, and then he'll die one day, right? So I speak to my dad now, right, and he works. He's changed careers, and he works Monday to Sunday every week 10, 11, 12, 15, 16, 17 hours. He just keeps working. He can't sit down and watch a film unless it's Spartacus. He might watch that. But other than that, he just works all the time. And I say to him, don't you want to stop? And he'll say, oh, I'll just make money for your mum, and then when I'm dead, she'll have enough money to be okay. That's what he says. Kind of half joke, but he's still doing the hours, so it must be true.
And what do you
So
think about that?
well, it's freaking tragic, isn't it? I wish my dad would come on this show, but he never ever would, because that would be great. Stop him from
Well,
working all the time. But then I'm doing the same, I guess, which is, I guess, why I'm here.
yeah, I was gonna say I don't know if I don't know if what resonates with you is your relationship with your dad. I think what could be resonating with you is your relationship with your son.
Well, he's in a sock on the floor. I don't have one.
Yeah, not yet.
Hmm.
But what do you think you're afraid of?
Well,
What
being,
would it like if you had a son? What
mm,
would it be like? What would your
what am I?
relationship with him like?
Well, I'd be a pretty good dad, I think.
Would you be working 12, 14, 15, 16 hours a day?
No, I don't. I don't. I don't do that. I don't
Okay.
work that much. My dad never used to work that much. That's a new thing. It's kind of the last few years. He used to work a lot. He used to work away, truck driving, so kind of be out at night and things. But he was around, sometimes. Yeah.
What was it like having a dad who was around sometimes?
Um, unimpactful. I don't know. I think there's different parts of your childhood that you remember more, right? So
Yeah,
I do have memories of, you know, oh, we were doing this on this day. We were going to the shop. We were going to buy some Pokemon cards or something. But then he's busy, so he's not going. I've got a few memories like that. But for the most part, he's around, and we did stuff
yeah.
different times of my
I'm
life.
hearing that he was a good dad.
It was great, yeah. But there's a kind of sacrificial element to it, don't you think? In being a parent,
Sure.
I'm not one.
What do you
Yeah.
think he sacrificed?
Well, Well, it's like the guy from Fences. It's your duty is to just crack on and keep working, even if the job's shit. You just got to work, haven't you? Because your kid wants new Nike sneakers.
Sure. So what did he sacrifice?
Uh, I don't know, whatever his passion was. It wasn't truck driving.
Right. Yeah. And that's kind of tragic, isn't it?
Uh, that is a tragedy, but that's kind of a shared tragedy, isn't it? That's the human experience, I think, for the most part. So it's a bit muted.
Well, it sounds like it's your dad's experience and possibly yours.
Hmm. Yeah, maybe. But I'm not working through a sense of duty. I'm working through a sense of anxiety, really. If I stop, I'll freaking start getting worried.
What happens when you try to take a break?
Work mounts up.
Does
And
it
that, well,
really?
okay. Uh,
Or does it feel like when people say you can relax or that you can work less and you said you get anxious and then you talked a little bit about feeling like you don't deserve things.
hmm. Well, it just comes back to that kind of fluidity of your career, and it can end at any moment. Well, not if I can help it.
Can I think for a second?
Yeah, please.
This is tricky, Andy, because I think I have a sense of what could be going on. I just don't know.
Do you think that films can be formative for you? If I think about something like The Lion King, which is, I know this is really silly, always been my favorite film of all time and always will be. And that's the same, isn't it? So that's, I'm sure, have you seen The Lion King?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, that's again the same thing, isn't it? Sense of duty, you die for your son, that thing.
Yeah.
Is that formative? I don't know. I don't know why that ended up on my notes when I was kind of brainstorming, but there
Okay.
was just this connection between Fences, which made me bawl my eyes out, and The Lion King. It's kind of roughly the same. It's just a dad who sacrifices everything.
So what I'm hearing from you is that in your life, there is not an experience that clearly ties into what deeply resonates with you about film.
Yeah,
That's why it's weird
yeah,
that you
yeah,
feel
yeah,
the most alive watching these movies.
yeah. Probably.
Okay.
Yeah,
What's
most
your
alive. Mm, I don't know. Probably. Yeah, that stings a little bit, but you're probably right. Yeah,
Yeah, okay.
yeah.
Is there something I should have asked you about?
Um, that's a good question, isn't it? But no,
Okay. So like there isn't like
I don't.
something that some
Nah,
experience like how does your dad feel about the work that you do?
I'm really proud. Yeah, my mum and dad are really proud of me.
What's it
My mum
like
is my,
yeah.
you know, yeah, they love me. My mum finds me, the funniest person in the world. Not so much to Michelle, who's, you know, she doesn't really think my Lion King impressions are very good, but my mum does.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Um,
I don't
and
think I have any skeletons in the closet, or
yeah,
there's
yeah,
nothing.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm getting that sense. So, how do you think it would feel to be Mufasa or Denzel Washington?
Pretty tragic. Well, no, Mufasa's not tragic. That's a little bit different, isn't it? But Denzel Washington, yeah, the dad in Fences, yeah, it'd be pretty brutal, wouldn't it? You just waste your life and then you're dead.
I mean, that's what you're
Yeah,
doing,
no, I know.
right?
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's why I'm saying that resonated with me is because, oh well, I don't think I was saying that, but I realize I've said that's what I've said. Yeah,
Yeah. I mean,
yeah,
that's what we're talking about. So I don't think it's weird at
yeah.
all.
But it's not a sense of duty. I don't have a sense of duty to anyone. I don't have a kid. I'm not working, so when my kid's born, I'm making six figures.
Are
Don't care
you
about that.
gonna? I mean, you don't have to answer this, but have you thought about having children?
Only when self-reflecting. No, only because I noticed that the films that made me cry, you, there's a relationship, there's a father-son or a mother or a father-daughter relationship or a mother-daughter relationship in some of them. And all my favorite films actually kind of have that relationship in them. Like Interstellar is all about father's love for his daughter, isn't it? And
Yeah, that
oh,
scene where he's like yelling at himself not to leave and all that
yeah,
good stuff. Yeah. Powerful
yeah,
stuff.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Things like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Andy, what's your help me understand, are you like religious or spiritual? What do you
No, is it the fleece?
what?
Is it the fleece that gives you that made you ask that, or the
No.
glasses? Okay.
What is the fleece in the glass? Is that a joke? I don't get the joke.
No, no, it's not a joke. No, no, no. Someone asked me if I was a vegan when I had this fleece on with these glasses, and I suppose they are a bit hipster, but I don't mean to insult religious people that they're hipsters, by the way.
No, I
Apologies if that's what I've done. I'm not religious at all, not in the slightest.
okay. And what do you think happens after you die?
Dead, aren't you? Nothing happens.
How confident are you in that?
Yeah, 100%. Well, technically everyone's an agnostic who's an atheist, aren't they? But 99.9%.
Okay.
I wish it wasn't the case. I wish I could take a pill and believe in the afterlife. That would be great, wouldn't it?
I don't know. I've never thought about that. So let me
Okay.
so here's the thing. I'm not sure that asking you more questions. So sometimes I interview someone and like it's pretty easy to tell what's going on and we kind of crack the nut pretty simply. I think
Okay.
I have a good sense of what's going on. I don't know that I'm going to be able to ask you a series of questions that will get you there.
Okay.
I think I can explain it to you. But I don't know that Socratic questioning, I can't see a way to get you to where I think you are. I can
Just
explain
tell me.
it to you. Yeah.
Yeah, just tell me.
I'm just gonna.
Yeah.
So it's different because sometimes like we get there through like realization and
Yeah. Yeah.
questioning, but like so what I'm gonna offer you is something of like a hypothesis, and the hypothesis is gonna have some stuff that I think is like pretty reliable and some stuff that is completely unreliable and out of this world.
Okay.
So the first thing is that I think you actually systemically move away from yourself. Like, you feel hollow and dead inside, and we actually see that. Like, if you go back and you just watch your face, like, don't even listen to the words.
Yeah.
Like, watch this video on mute. And even now, like, I'm scratching something, right? So when you're hollow and dead inside, you're like, yeah, that's me, right? And maybe there's a joke, something like
No.
that.
No. No. No.
No. The joke is a good thing. It's I
No.
think
That's
it's
just that.
life.
No. No. That's just that's what people say. Sometimes is I just look miserable. I'm not miserable. Well,
No,
I am because that's why I'm on the show. But I don't feel miserable at the time when people say, "What's wrong with you?"
yeah.
Nothing. I'm
So,
just
so let's talk about. So this is the two layers that I'm talking about. So let's talk about misery for a second. So I think part of the reason, like the other theme I'm kind of getting is like there's two layers of you. One is like the logical, and you say, well, I'm not miserable, but I am miserable. It's like all these statements that you make that run contrary to, there's like the logical you, well, I have a lot to be grateful for. And I worked hard, sure, like, because I work hard and people say I should work less, but I don't deserve what, like, there's like just it's just two things. And one of them is like literally like deadpan. Like your tone is low, your voice is low. Maybe it's the COVID, maybe it's the accent. But if we ask around, like here's the thing, here's the dynamic I've noticed. I'll see some life, and then I'll ask a follow-up question, and then it'll get quashed.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. So I'll like, are you miserable?
I don't feel miserable right now, but there is something that needs working on, yeah.
Right? So even like if you pay attention to your face, first half of the answer, very little. Second half of the answer, more. Right?
Okay, yeah.
So misery exists on two levels. So there's like, this is the big problem with, I think, modern psychology. Well, no, I mean, modern psychology is catching up. But if you look at Buddha, right? So he used this word, Sanskrit word, dukh. Dukh means suffering. And we in the West tend to think more about emotions and pain. But we don't, it's my experience that suffering and contentment exists at a different layer from like emotions and pain. And the best way to understand this is watching a tragic movie. Because emotionally, it's tragic. You're sad, you're crying, but it feels good, right? It's kind of weird. Yeah. So what I'm sort of noticing is that on the surface level, you have no complaints. Things are good. You're not like miserable. Your health is pretty good. You have a good relationship. Your parents love you, right? So what the fuck do you have to complain about? But like underneath, there's like emptiness. And then, so there's this dichotomy, first of all, okay? Second thing is that you actively move away from this bottom layer.
Okay.
So I'll just toss out different things. Like I just don't like, you're a joker, right? In your heart of hearts, in here, you're a joker.
Yeah.
But when you have a joke, what do you do with it?
Yeah, well, it depends where I am. But yeah, I'm trying to concentrate. I'm trying to use my logical part of my brain to talk and absorb, and I don't want to kind of, it's like, oh, that's a funny joke, no, go away, you know. Oh, that's a funny joke,
exactly, go. Right? So when you push away your jokes, right? And there's like a good reason for that, right? So like you don't want to get into like sexual harassment cases in the workplace.
No, I mean right now, you know, I'm trying to focus on, I want to be.
No, so I want you to make jokes. Any joke that comes into your mind for the rest of the interview.
I will put air filter on for your stream's sake, but
yeah, thank you. TOS. Yeah. But like if you have a joke, I want you to just toss it out. Okay? And I want you to just see how that feels. Right? Like
yeah, okay. I don't think right. Yeah, I am hearing you.
Okay. So that's just one example, but I think there's like all kinds of other, like, I don't know how else to, like, so I keep on asking you if you're proud. I'm trying to get you to say I'm proud or I'm not proud, but you just like waffle around, right? Okay, so, because I think that you do feel, I'm like, do you feel any pride? And you're like, yeah, of course I feel pride. But like, do you let yourself feel pride? The answer to that is no. Are you proud? Sure. Do you have a lot to be grateful for? There's some element of humility in there. I think some of that's, I think that's very genuine. But I think it's almost like you don't let yourself own who you are. And there's a lot of like, anytime we get down there to the bottom layer, you kind of like devalue it. So like, I love these movies, but that's weird, isn't it?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. It's silly. It's weird. You know? And let's not, I'm not going to touch this with a 10-foot pole. This is beyond my pay grade. But this whole business about your mom thinks you're the funniest person on the planet and your wife wants you to stop, not wife, long-term girlfriend wants you to stop making jokes. Like there's we could dive into that if you want to. But I think that's like a good example of like, and see, there's something real. But if I ask you about your girlfriend and Michelle, you're going to.
Yeah, do it. No, go on. I'll do my best. Yeah.
What's it like when she doesn't want you to make jokes?
It feels like she's rejecting a part of me.
How does it feel to have
It's
a...
not. I don't know if that's actually what's happening because,
There it
if you
is.
just
Hold on. What'd you just do?
well, yeah, but if I'm singing the same Alexander Hamilton song
No,
2 years later,
no, 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 no,
she's
no, no,
thinking,
not that. You said it feels like she's rejecting a part of me. And then what was the next fucking sentence out of your mouth?
yeah, okay,
No, not okay. Say it. I don't know
yeah.
what you...
I minimized it. I said something. I minimized
There
it.
it is. Right? So one is like, and
Yeah.
let's just think about this. When you say it feels like she's rejecting a part of me, like that's an authentic feeling.
Yeah.
You get that? Like that's real. It may not be true, but then like this other layer, like protective
yeah.
Andy comes up.
I see. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Okay, that's interesting actually. So it might not be true, but you're feeling it.
Yeah. Right. And
Okay.
so this is what's happening is like you don't know who you are. That's because tell me logically, who are you? What is
That's
identity?
really, yeah. It's what you love to do.
But
That's who you are.
right, so like you can't have an identity logically. Like you can never discover yourself through logic. Who you are is experiential on its
Yeah.
fundamental level. And you started the interview with, what do you do when your work becomes your identity? Like that's a logical exchange, right? So I can bucket you based on
Yeah.
your profession, but that's not really who you are. Like that's the whole point of this discussion. So when you're
Yeah.
operating from this upper level of like, this is not who I am, I'm more than my work, whatever. Like you can talk about it until you're blue in the face, but you're never going to discover yourself that way. And what
Yeah.
I'm noticing is like time and again, you push away like this element of yourself. And I think that's how you've lost yourself,
Okay. Yeah.
right? Because I know who you are. Like, I know it's weird to say that, but like, I think we see who you truly are when you're joking, right? You're more than that, but that's the one thing that can still crack through the surface for moments,
Yeah.
right? And like, do you feel alive when you're cracking a joke?
Yeah. Of course. Yeah.
Of course, right?
Yeah.
You have a minimizing statement to make about that too? But doesn't everybody? It's just a joke. That's not life.
Yeah. No, something you said there just made sense. So literally, the thought that minimized the part about Michelle not accepting kind of a part of me is, well, that's not really true. It's exactly what I thought, and that's what you said is, so it's not really important. I don't need to correct myself, do I? The balance of probabilities and if it's true or not. So
Yeah, but I mean, that's like who you are is not like an objective thing. Who you are is a purely subjective thing. It is as subjective as you can possibly get.
yeah,
And so like there's just so many things. So when we talk about pride, when we talk about joking, when we talk about some of this work related stuff, the passivity, right? So like when you try to come up and you say like, hey, I far outpace my peers, like that's a statement of fact, but like you won't even say that, right? Like it's like pulling
yeah,
teeth. And when you say that, your face is as like gray shade as you can possibly get. I'm 31 years old and all of my colleagues are 20 years older than me and I manage 250 people,
yeah, okay,
right?
yeah.
And how do you feel right now?
Yeah, that was pretty spot on. Yeah,
So
I don't know why. I don't know why I've changed to be like that. Yeah.
don't worry about the why. Close your eyes for a second. Just feel what you feel. I'm going to just talk at you in my Andy impression. Okay.
Yeah.
And I want you to just bask in the sensation. Yeah, my name is Andy. I'm 31 years old. I'm a senior manager.
This is doing things to me
Like what?
sexually.
That's a joke, right? Oh my God.
I'm not saying.
Right? So like, who are you right now?
I don't know.
Yeah, right? But can you feel you right now?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm not saying touch yourself. I'm saying, can you feel
It's
you?
it's it's too late for that. Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So like, I don't know how else to say this, Andy. This is who you are.
Mm-hmm.
So like, you can open your eyes. So like, this is why I was kind of asking you about spirituality. So there are a couple things I'm going to share with you. The first is that who you are is not an identity that is built up over time. It is an experience of the present. So like, when you crack a
Yeah.
joke, I think you are like in your purest state of self. Now, you don't want to be cracking that all the time. This is why, so for example, like there are lots of famous stories about Zen masters achieving enlightenment, and the first thing that they do is laugh. There is even a Sanskrit word that the word for reality is actually like play. So like the word that in Sanskrit gets translated into English is reality. So if I were to ask you what's the
Yep.
Sanskrit word for reality, one translation is lila, but technically lila means play. And that the whole universe is like, it's like not a play isn't a false representation, but it is the act of play. And so there's just this very visceral kind of part of you that I think that cognitively, maybe like at some point, there's also work-related stuff here, right? Because when you're 26 years old and you're far above where you should be on the corporate ladder, you have to be like extra serious because you have to play the part.
Yeah. So just, sorry, I don't want to interrupt you if you're delivering an
No, go for it.
epiphany. Yeah. Okay. So
Please interrupt.
yeah. Okay. Yeah. So two things happened really. One, promoted quickly into positions of authority where you need to appear and be credible. So you've got to kind of cut that shit out
Yep.
because you're already younger. And then two, I mean, something that impacted me in the past was kind of the whole, losing your hair moment of, fucking hell, my hair's falling out. I'm 21, my hair's falling out. It's in the sink, while you're brushing your teeth and shit. Fuck, what the hell do you do about it? The answer is, by the way, if I can just shave your head, don't do what I did, which is wait 3 years too late and then shave your head. It's the total wrong thing to do. But that kind of matured me quickly because, the position and then kind of being bald kind of aged me a bit. It's like, well, how immature can you be now? So that has definitely impacted how I interact with strangers.
Absolutely, right? So I don't know if you asked this question, but I have this kind of question: why are you this way? Why do you have these two layers? Why do you, on some level, I think it's numbness. You like inflict numbness on yourself. In some ways, it's suppression.
Yeah.
But why? And I think it's because exactly like, so you didn't just learn, this isn't random. It's like you've developed this cognitive structure for a reason. And there are influences, evolutionary influences on your cognition over time. And I think essentially like, you almost got developmentally like skipped a couple of steps professionally. And so then you sort of had to like almost fake it till you make it, or you had to adopt a persona of overly serious.
Yeah, definitely. 100%. Yeah, right on the nail.
But the thing is, this is the key thing about the mind, is that the mind can't do that naturally, selectively. So, for example, when we look at something called alexithymia, which is the inability to like understand what you're feeling emotionally. So it's like emotional colorblindness. Okay.
Yeah.
The interesting thing is that when we numb ourselves, so sometimes we'll use certain techniques, either substances or cognitive techniques or video games or whatever, to numb our internal emotional state. The interesting thing is then people will say like, oh, I don't feel happy, I don't feel happy, I don't feel happy. And the thing is, our mind can't numb just the sadness. It has to numb everything. So it's like turning the volume down. Like if you turn the volume down, like everything is going to go down. And so I think what you've managed to do is by some combination of, a girlfriend and professional things and all kinds of other stuff, also some amount of confusion and not allowing yourself. I mean, I think that
Yeah.
you do, because it sounds like you let yourself indulge. In worst cases, what'll happen is you'll have men like yourself who start crying during movies and they're like, I don't understand what's going on, so I'm going to never watch those movies again. And thankfully you didn't do that, or maybe you went through your
Yeah.
own internal.
No, I love it. It's like, yeah, it's just great. It's just a release, isn't it? When you do, you can't plan it. You can't think, oh, I'll have a cry today. I'll put a sad film on. But when you do, it feels good. Yeah.
Yeah. So thankfully you let yourself kind of engage in that. But I do think that there's a reason why your mind does this.
Okay.
So that's sort of like the logical side. That's the psychological side. That's what I feel pretty confident about. There's also like tips, right? So the first thing is to just first of all recognize your devaluing statements. And
Yeah.
notice that the only thing you're going to devalue, or the thing that you consistently devalue, is like your experience of something.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So it's not like it's not that I worked hard, it's that I got lucky. Well, like everyone, like you have to get lucky to get promoted. Yeah, but you're not like slipping
I
and
don't.
sliding
Yeah.
into
I don't. Yeah. Okay.
where you, right? So there's a personal element that you kind of quash. Okay?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So that's a piece of it. So if you want to be happy in life, you have to stop quashing that. Right? If you want to know who you are, like that's who you are. You aren't like a father or a worker or someone like that. You're a bald dude who makes funny jokes and is also a hard worker, is also loving, has made his parents proud. You can probably have a cry about that if you let yourself at some point. What do you think about that?
Yeah, those are all things that I do or am to others. But when I was saying I don't feel like I have a self, I think when I was, well, it's spot on, but also it's linked to kind of, I don't enjoy anything. Everything's kind of volumes turned down and everything, right? But I guess you're saying that's linked to.
Yeah, so I think that's a piece of it, but there's still a big chunk missing here. So we'll get to that in a second. But like,
dear.
so the first thing is that I think that this is going to be the kind of thing where I think as you turn the volume up, you're going to get more information about who you are, and then you have to walk that journey. So we're not going to that's the first thing, is like, you got to turn the volume up. Then you'll start to discover who you are. It's then then you start the journey. Like, the turning the volume up is like the first step, or not even the first step. It's like the prerequisite. It's the starter pistol going off before you start the race.
Yeah.
Now, the other wild thing is that, like, so when things resonate with us, okay, why do they resonate with us? Because of personal experience, right? Like, that's what the nature of resonance is. So in psychology, what we assume then is because personal experience must have come from the past or from this life, then we get confused like you did, because these father-son relationships are deeply resonating with you, but it doesn't map on to your life. So it doesn't make sense that it resonates, right?
It makes sense a bit around kind of my dad. I think is kind of wish he'd worked less. I guess the kind of sacrifice bit.
Yeah. Do you think? How do you feel about your wanting your dad? Let me think about what kind of question is not going to scare you away. What do you think about your dad not being perfect?
Yeah, I'm used to it. Yeah, he's just a guy like everyone else. He fucked up like others in life.
Yeah, see, you're a slippery one there.
Okay, I'm trying. Just
Yeah,
tell.
no, I know. I'm not blaming you. That was a mean thing for me to say. So
It was very mean. Yeah.
I think that this is. I apologize. I really do.
No, I'm joking. I'm
I,
fine.
I'm not.
Nothing stingy. Okay.
So there's a couple things here. One is that your dad working 12 to 17 hours, being absent for long periods of time because you love him, because he loves you. There's a
Yeah.
psychological possibility. Like if I was a therapist, I would dig into this because I believe that what resonates with you about these movies is that it mirrors your own father-son relationship.
I
Okay.
thought you were a therapist.
I mean, I am, but if I was doing therapy with you, like I would dig into that.
Is this not therapy?
No, this is not therapy, which I'm pretty sure
Okay.
you understand and you're joking about.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Sorry.
but what I mean by that is like, you know, we can assume that what resonates with you in movies mirrors your own relationship. I think that
Yeah.
you could have something going on, which I oftentimes see for men who love their fathers, which is that we don't want to ever admit that they did something that was hurtful or tragic or neglectful towards us, especially if they made sacrifices and had good reasons to do it. Right? So like you want to give your dad a pass for not showing up and buying Pokemon cards with you because he had a really good reason and you don't want to blame
Okay.
him for that. The tricky
Okay.
thing is that the emotional hurt for 8-year-old you still existed. Now, the really tricky
Yeah.
thing here is that if you make excuses for him, you can't ever forgive him.
What's to forgive? What's to forgive? So, you know, I'm going to start defending my dad here. I don't mean I'm not trying to
Yeah,
do
good.
that. I'm just trying to. So, he's a guy with whatever talent in life, and he's got to put bread on the table. So you just do whatever you need to do that. And sometimes that means you've got to freaking work on a weekend. Tough luck kid kind of thing. That hurts as a kid because you don't really understand. But it's like the scene in Fences. Who says I have to be there on the weekend? Do I put food on the table and give you an Xbox and a cool Coke fridge to play Halo 1 on? Yeah, he did. So I don't know if there's anything to forgive. He was also present at other times. If
Yeah.
if I remember it, does that mean it was persistent? I don't know. Consistent?
So this is the weird thing, right? So like you, you're drawing more parallels to Fences with your own experience,
Okay.
right? Like we're talking about your relationship with your dad and you're bringing up Fences again.
Yeah.
So like I think this is hard because I don't know if cognitively or like emotionally you're ready to accept that your life may have been a little bit closer to Fences than you give it credit for. And I think the reason you may not be willing to accept that is because your dad is not Denzel Washington from Fences, right? He's better than that. So that's
Mm-hmm.
where there's like confusion and conflict because he wasn't there. He had a good reason. But
Yeah.
this is when you ask what is forgiveness? Forgiveness is like admitting a wrong and then saying it's okay. Excuse is like saying, oh, it's not actually a problem. Do you
Okay.
understand?
I understand.
So I don't know if you need to walk that journey with your dad or not. Like, I don't know. It's a possibility. So if we're
Okay.
trying to understand, remember, let's go like one level higher. We're understanding why on earth do you resonate with all these father-son themes? No brainer
Mm-hmm.
from a therapy perspective. It's because of your own friggin' relationship, right?
Thank God. I thought you were going to say I want to have sex with him or something.
No. So other thing is that, that you may be able to map that onto your other relationships as well. Maybe your relationship with your mom. But here's the other thing that I want to share with you, because I think could be where the money is. So sometimes I think that what could be happening, one is that this is actually a predictive thing where this is like, you're not going to figure this out or you won't feel complete until you have a child. Now, I know that goes against so much like PC thinking, like, oh, like you don't need to be fulfilled. Like children aren't necessary fulfillment. I completely agree. I'm not saying that you should have children or you shouldn't have children. All I'm saying is that if there's a motif that is like resonating with you deeply, it may not be your father-son relationship with your dad. It could be your father-son relationship with your kid. And that's kind of confusing. But sometimes when it comes to like meaning in life and feeling fulfilled, I think we can safely say that parent-child relationships are a source of fulfillment for many human beings. Is it the only source of fulfillment for human beings? Absolutely not. Can you be completely fulfilled and choose not to have children? Absolutely. But we also know that human experience, which is why we have so many father-son relationship themes in our movies, because they tend to be central to the experience of life.
Okay.
Now, there's a simple way to put this. So the two other, now we're going to go completely off the rails. So one is that karmically, your Atman, your soul, chose this birth because you have an incomplete karma with another soul who will one day be your son. And it is your resonance with this incomplete karma, which is like, that's why you're born. That's why you exist. On like a deeply existential level, the reason that your Atman or your soul took birth is to resolve this conflict. You have a debt to pay, you have a duty to fulfill, you have some kind of relationship to have with another soul that I would assume would be your child. I'm not saying that that's correct or that's true or you need to believe that. Part of what I try to do with people is share perspectives, and the reason that I hold on to this perspective is I know it sounds completely unscientific, but boy, is it helpful.
Yeah.
So sometimes I do believe that like we have duties, right? So what's resonating with you is that you have an incomplete duty. So you will never feel fulfilled because you're not doing your duty. And in sense of personal fulfillment, to do your duty, to have that conversation with your son, to be Denzel Washington in Fences, that's like, I don't know how to say this, but you have like a gravity towards that experience. And if we're saying psychologically that all gravities towards experiences come from places, which I 100% agree, because I don't think that the mind is random. And we're saying that it hasn't come from your past. I know it sounds kind of weird. The only other place it could be coming from is your future, because it's got to be coming from somewhere. And I know that sounds weird and illogical, but there's a system of karma and reincarnation and stuff like that that sort of suggests that this could be what's going on. So I'm putting it to you. I don't think it's scientific. I think it's sort of scientific, but I don't think you need to believe it. I'm just, if you have a question of why I don't feel fulfilled, it's like on the bucket list for why.
Okay.
The other thing, I wanted to say one more thing. Incomplete karma. Oh, yeah. The other thing is that this could be a resonance of an experience from a past life. So that is also equally unscientific, but I've just had good outcomes in terms of personal fulfillment and understanding, when like there may have been some kind of relationship that you were either the dad or you were the son, or who knows. You know, I don't know if this sounds kind of weird, but do you feel guilt when you watch Fences?
Oh, definitely, yeah.
So like,
I'm the same. Yeah, definitely, yeah.
so that's weird, right? Because what the hell are you feeling guilty for?
For being the thing that was sacrificed for.
Okay. So,
Kind of a bit upsetting, yeah.
right? So we're getting not where I thought we were going, but I think we got somewhere. What do you, how do you understand that?
Oh, how do I understand that? How do I understand what?
Okay, let me ask a couple other questions. So you feel guilty because your dad had to drive a truck for a very long time, right? To do what for you?
Yeah, set me up for the future. And he even got me the first job, right? So there's probably almost a thing about, he's planted the seed for this career and I need to kind of go somewhere with it and keep going to
Well,
honor the sacrifice or something. It sounds a bit cheesy, but maybe that's
there's that devaluing again when you get to something real, right? So,
well,
Andy, I mean, now I think now things are clicking for me. So then, like, now we sort of understand, right? Like now I think a lot of things are making sense to me. which is,
Mm-hmm.
first of all, like, it's hard to feel pride in something that came at the cost of your dad,
Yeah.
right? So maybe we were wrong about, like, right? Because, like, everything that you built comes from, and this isn't, you don't blame your dad for not being there for Pokemon cards, but,
Mm-hmm.
like, you acknowledge that he couldn't be there, right? And, like, I think on some level, you're okay with him not being there for you, but you identify with the internal disappointment that he has to deal with not being able to be there for you. Was that too much? One sentence?
You, no, I thought you were going somewhere else with that, and then
Tell
the final
Yeah, tell
clause.
me.
I thought you were just saying. I thought you were just saying what I said back to me, but then you said, "What did you just say at the end of that
Yeah, I mean,
sentence?"
so when your dad doesn't show up to get you the Pokemon cards,
Yeah, yeah. So
it's not
yeah.
about you. I think you understand what he must be feeling, because I don't think you're oblivious
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
to,
That's probably right.
and that's what hurts the most, is that
Okay.
he may be disappointed in himself.
And he just, yeah, probably. Well, yeah. I think that my dad would be very critical of himself as a father, but it's misplaced.
But what's it like to watch him do that to himself?
Yeah, it's heartbreaking, and my brother has not honored the sacrifice. We'll say.
I'm so confused.
Well, okay, I mean, he's just not living his best life. Let's say that. You know, drugs and things, borrowing money,
Okay, so
things like
Andy,
that.
you say you don't know who you are and how to be happy, and I'm noticing that there's a lot of shit that you need to turn the volume down on.
Turn the volume down.
Yeah, there's a lot of shit that you need to turn the volume down on,
Okay.
right? So, like, I think that part of the reason, like, what's going on here is, like, there's a lot here.
Mm-hmm.
So the guilt, and this started with guilt. It started with a feeling of guilt and like, watching, as you put it, heartbreaking.
Mm.
Right? There's anger towards your brother. There's
Oh
weird
yeah,
kinds of feelings in terms of, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of anger.
yeah, yeah. He's still drawing from my dad now, right? To this day, to this morning, and again, oh, I need to pay this person back, or he's gonna freaking kill me, or blow the cars up, or set the house on fire, whatever, all this shit. And my dad always says, this is it, this is the last time, no more, not doing it again. But invariably and inevitably, always hands over the cash, because that's him. That's what he does. But, that's my brother.
So there you did it again.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I caught myself with that one.
Yep. So I think, I mean, you're at who you are, and your happiness, Andy, is at the bottom of this, right? Like, you have to work through all of this stuff. So I'd actually recommend, like, I don't know if have you ever seen a therapist before?
No, never.
This
I thought it was
definitely.
pretty.
Definitely a case. So this is one of the cases where I think seeing a therapist is actually, like, a really good idea for you, but it's not because you're ill. So
No.
generally speaking, we think about therapy, and even when we describe therapy on this stream, because if you look at the legality of it, right? So like if we look at licensure, laws, training, it has to do with illness. But I think in terms of like finding your happiness, I don't know how else to put this. There's just a layer of psychological crap up here that you need to get through, because like you need to turn up the volume on your internal self. It's not, I mean, cracking jokes is not going to make you happy. It'll be a one step in the right direction. But I think anger towards your brother, I think anger towards your dad.
I don't think I have any anger towards my dad.
I am aware of that. That's why I think you need to see a therapist, because I think you have anger towards your dad.
No, okay. Okay. I'll be open-minded on that. I'll take your advice. But
I mean, maybe
now,
you don't, but it's bizarre. I think you probably see your dad as a victim, and you see that he's getting taken advantage of and he loves his son and all that good stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's usually anger under that.
Well, I'm angry that he won't. Okay, what do you mean? I'm angry that he won't just.
There you go.
Let whatever happen.
And then if you want to go even further than that, there's even brothers older or younger?
Younger.
Okay. So how much younger?
3 years.
Okay. So last place that there may be anger towards your dad or your mom is, have there been times in your life where your dad was supposed to do something for you and didn't get a chance to because of your brother?
I have no memory of anything. I'm trying to think.
So that's okay. So we don't have to get into that.
I mean,
but
yeah, okay.
So I'll just give you a simple example. So I do a lot of addiction psychiatry work, and I see this a lot in the siblings, with no idea if it applies to you or not. I see this a lot in the siblings of people who have substance use problems. Ton of resentment.
Uh-huh. Okay.
So when you have a child with substance use, parents love their children, right? There's one kid who needs more help, needs more love, needs more support. And inevitably what I see time and time again is the sibling overperforms, is an absolute boss at work, learns how to be independent.
Okay.
Because the love and attention and support of the parents is being siphoned towards the child with addiction. And oftentimes there's resentment on the child who does a good job. And there's a lot of like layers of shit on top before people realize that. Because
resentment to the child who does a good job.
No, the child who does a good job. The child who does a good job is the one who winds up in my office.
Okay.
Just like you. Like, it's actually stunning how many men in their 30s who overperform or at manager levels have this problem. It's actually funny now that I think about it. I didn't connect those dots until now. But it's a really common problem. So, like, what happens then is, like, they actually resent their parents, and it takes but they feel guilty for resenting their parents. Because if clearly, like, I have a brother who's a fuck up, and he needs the support more than I do. So, like, I can't blame my parents for, like, prioritizing him. I think what they're doing is stupid. That they can own pretty easily. Right?
Yeah.
They need to learn how to set boundaries, but it's really hard for them to get to the point that, like, my life, my parents chose my brother, who may have had justified reasons why they needed his attention more. But like, there still can be resentment. Like, it
doesn't feel like that's it.
Yeah. So I'm laying this out for you because I don't know that, like I said, I think this is more, I don't know if this, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. I think that despite the attention that my brother needed and all of the energy and emotion that saps out of people, despite that, for the most part, they were still there for me and provided me with the opportunities, like the job and whatever else, money if I needed money. You know, at times I've been between jobs, and my dad would give me money. That's happened in the past.
So that's good to hear. So it may not apply to you. I'm just sort of mapping it out for you so that, like, you can kind of think through this either on your own or there may be. It's just very common that when there's a sibling, we also see this with siblings who have medical problems. So one child has medical problems, the other child doesn't. So parents' attention primarily goes to one child, and understandably so, justifiably so. And then child who is successful oftentimes becomes a doctor themselves. Is very independent, then winds up in my office, and then we have to work through some of these issues.
Okay.
So I think, the one thing we did kind of find is that, you feel guilty, which is strange in a sense, but I think we've figured out how it's not strange.
Yeah.
That your dad had to do all this stuff for you. Also sort of makes sense why it's like, it's hard to enjoy food that came at the cost of, it's hard to enjoy the fruits of labor.
Yeah, someone else's labor, yeah.
Yeah, right? Especially when it is significant sacrifice on his part.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I mean, if we could go into it further if you want to, but there's even certain comments, right? So your dad says, "Oh, I have to work so that I can take care of your mom," and you see him, he's going to say that, but I don't think he says that about you. Does he say that about you?
What about me? Sorry.
Taking care of you? Does he talk
Oh
explicitly?
no. We're completely, I'm completely independent.
Yeah. So I know it sounds kind of weird, but I think there's something there too, where
Okay.
on some level, on some subtext, he's not saying it about you now, but have you ever talked to your dad about the sacrifices he's made for you?
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not sure he's not. If I seem to be a closed book, he's worse.
Okay. So let me ask you, why not?
Well, for example, Dad, why are you working so much? So that if I die, Mum's got some money. Oh, okay then.
Okay. So I'm going to ask you a question, Andy. Have you talked to him about how much he's done for you?
No. No, probably should.
So let's understand this a little bit better. Why not?
We don't talk like that. We don't talk deeply.
So I think that, don't worry about should so much. So
Okay.
I think I want to be careful with that word. So the main first reason is because I think you haven't done that because you weren't taught how, right? Because your dad, as you said, is a closed book. So conversations amongst men about our feelings are, reserved for movies that we watch and no actual words exchanged.
Yeah, except for when I'm at work. When I'm at work, I deal with people who are various stages of mental ill health. I'm really empathetic, and
Sure.
trying to talk to that person about feelings. I'm really good at it when there's no personal.
Sure.
I guess.
Yeah. I think you know how to do it professionally. Sure.
Right.
I mean, I think you got to where you are because you probably are a empathic and compassionate person to work under. So I don't want to push you or rush genuinely. So I think you have to do this when you're ready. But I do think in terms of the list of things to do, I think having you don't even have to have a conversation because I don't know that your dad is going to know what to do with that. Right. But formulating some kind of sharing some of these feelings with your dad and say Dad, I've come a really long way. I know y'all are proud of me. And I just want to share with you that, I know you've made a lot of sacrifices and sometimes it hurts me to think about what you've had to give up with your life for our sake. I sometimes think it's almost like a tragedy that you've had to do this. And I know you did it willingly. I know you're proud of it. I know you did your duty. I know you did it because you love us. But on some level, it still hurts me to think about the sacrifices that you were forced to make. And I appreciate so much about like how lucky I've been and the opportunities that you've given me that I don't have to walk that path. How does that?
That, yeah, it feels good to just imagine saying it. I'm not sure if it's selfish to say it. It's just going to make me feel good that I'm trying to make my dad feel good or something. Because I'm not sure. Well, I don't know. He's quite stoic and flippant, so im- im- yeah, I don't know.
Don't trick yourself into not saying it.
No, I will do.
Oh,
You
it's
said
selfish. Don't
no.
do
Yeah,
it.
no.
Don't do
No. You said yeah. No. Oh, say that again.
it. Yeah.
So, uh, I will do it. You're suggesting it. I'll do it.
I'm not
Simple as that.
suggesting it. I'm asking how it would feel.
Feel good.
Okay, so then I think you should do it, right?
Yeah.
And like, I don't know how else to say this, but like, you're not going to live, Andy, until you do that,
Okay.
right? I know that sounds kind of weird, but like, what I mean is like, this is life. Like when you feel hollow and empty inside, it's because there are huge parts of you that are like in the basement. Like you can't live a full life. You can't find happiness unless you engage with this stuff.
Okay.
Does that make sense? It's just like
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
your
It makes
life is
sense.
you're like a movie. Like your life is two-dimensional and has all the attributes of a real story, but isn't you see the people like the water on the screen isn't wet. Right? And like what I'm getting a sense of is that your life is like that, where you're like you have this surface level, like everything's good, like you're living it, but it's all like hollow and empty inside because the water on the screen isn't wet. And some
Great.
of that's like because you gotta, because there's a whole treasure trove of stuff there. And like I want to bet money that if you have a conversation like this with your dad, you will feel more alive for the next week. There's no way that you're going to feel empty during that. You're not going to feel good necessarily. It's going to be like good and bad and everything in between. But does that make sense?
It makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Right. So I think, sharing that with him, I've done my best to try to understand what you may have been feeling. So, you can adapt that or whatever.
Yeah.
But I think sort of sharing with him, some of this stuff and like recognizing that he may not know how to respond, right? And not that he needs to. It's also good that you're also recognizing like what do you think his response could be?
Yeah. And then I feel a bit guilty about my mum because she's been there through the whole thing, not had a career and things. But I don't think about that as much.
Sure.
Why is that? That's strange because she sacrifices as much. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, so I wouldn't. So just be prepared for him to deflect or make a joke or things like that, right? So like he may not be ready to hear it. It may be too much for him to handle. So, and I don't want you to get hurt or turned off by that.
Okay.
Right. And then like you can revisit it again. But like a lot of this stuff is about almost also from a karmic perspective, like completing your karma. Like you can't force him to do anything. But for your growth, like you need to speak your truth because the reason you're not happy and you feel empty inside, Andy, is because for a long time you've stopped speaking your truth.
Okay.
Does that make sense to you?
It makes sense. Yeah. It makes great. Yeah. It makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just kind of elucidated a lot. Yeah. I feel like you've kind of shone a light on the map forward.
Cool. Well, that's what we're here for. Thoughts, questions?
Well, I'm a bit disappointed that I'm sitting down with a therapist not in therapy, and actually the most stereotypical epiphany has been given to me, or I've taken it, which is it's your relationship with your dad. But it is what it is. Yeah, I need to work on it.
Yeah.
It's a stereotype for a reason.
I mean, so I'd like to say it's more than that, right? But I think we've given you a lot of stuff, but I think start your journey with what fits right to you.
Yeah.
And I think even then, it's not when we talk about relationship with our dad, there's an assumption that there's a bad relationship. Whereas I think what you need to do for your dad is like express gratitude.
Okay.
Right. And at a level that makes him deeply, deeply uncomfortable.
Yeah.
right? Like you need to tell him that you love him and you appreciate his sacrifice and like everything that he's done for you. And it makes you sad to think about what he's had to give up for your sake. And that you're so grateful that he's given you opportunities, got you that first job, got you that first managerial position, and that your life is good, and that all of the success that you have has come off of the back of like his sacrifice and your mom's sacrifice, and that means a lot to you.
Yeah. Okay.
Then you'll feel alive.
Okay. Yeah. And then with that, just try not to dilute my personality while I'm working.
What do you
sort
mean?
of thing.
I didn't follow.
Just separately from that. Just I'm trying to kind of think about. I'll need to rewatch the VOD. I can't believe it's the time that it is. I'm so grateful that you've spent a bit longer with me. The part about kind of my personality at work, right? Not diluting it.
Yeah. So I'd catch. So it starts with just catching your contrary statements,
Yeah.
right? The devaluing statements.
Yeah.
I think there's, especially with people like Michelle, like there's a certain amount of romantic relationships that only function because we squash a part of ourselves. It's the only way they work, right? Like for the sake of harmony, you have to, you can't be your true authentic self with a romantic partner. In fact, I don't mean to be, I think it's natural and healthy.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But also
Okay.
like for, crack a joke from time to time and let yourself out a little bit. Like if I had to say one thing, Andy, you haven't let yourself out in a long time.
Yeah. I feel it. I don't look it. I kind of got this kind of featureless face that doesn't really move, but it's not Botox, obviously, my wrinkles. But I'm feeling very excited to have that conversation.
Yeah. I think that, by the way, your face is not featureless. It's only featureless when you're operating from one of those sides. And seriously, I think it'd be a really interesting exercise to watch this interview on mute.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I'll do that.
And then you'll see. So last question that I have is that oftentimes at the end of conversations with people, I'll teach them in some kind of instruction of meditation. Are you interested in learning that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you want a mystical one or a more scientific one?
On the best. The most effective. If that's the mystical one, fine. What do you think's the best?
I had thought about you ahead of time, and I had the idea to teach you a mantra and give you a mantra or mantra. So it's a syllable that you should chant. Do you have a set of prayer beads or rosary or anything like that?
I've lost my prayer beads.
Okay. So
I don't have anything.
That's okay. So you don't need one, but it can help with the practice. So I'm just trying to think about, because I think who you are is very different from who I thought you would be. And I'm just trying to think a little bit about.
How did you think I would be?
I don't know. I'm glad that you are who you are.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
I'm just trying to think about whether I should, because I had this flash of inspiration about half an hour before stream that I wanted to teach you a mantra. And I'm just trying to figure out where that inspiration is coming from and if it was wrong or if it was actually right and is like more predictive. So let's just stick with it. So I'm going to stick with it, okay? So I'm going to teach you a mantra. So the mantra is going to be kind of weird. So the mantra is Kshum. Oh, this actually makes perfect sense now. So the mantra is actually very guttural. Okay, that's interesting. Okay, so the mantra is this. It's Kshum, Kshum.
Okay. You want me to do that?
Did you hear that? I don't know if
No.
Discord stopped transmitting.
No, it did. Yeah, you were just kind of staring at me.
Okay. So the mantra is Kshum.
Yeah.
So it starts with a ksh, ksh, It's like a KSH.
Ksh.
Okay. And then in the bottom of your throat, there's going to be a ooh, ooh.
Ooh.
Beautiful. So what we want you to do is you're going to take it's going to start with a ksha. You're going to be doing an ooh. If you've got the COVID, you don't have to do it now. You got the Rona.
I'll give it a go.
So, ooh. And then hold that ooh. The ksha should be short and the should be short at the end. And then we're going to end with Okay, so kshum. Got it? Good. You're doing it right.
It's just the first syllable.
Yeah.
Kchoo.
Not ka-cha. So with a cha, your tongue is at the top of your palate.
Yeah.
Right? So if you say cha, 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 the back of your tongue is at the back of your palate. So do it with me. Cha, 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 cha.
Cha, 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 cha.
Do you feel where your tongue is?
Uh-huh.
Okay. Now, sha, 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 sha. What's different?
My tongue's in the middle of my mouth.
So now do ksha.
Cha.
Ksha. You'll get there. It's okay.
I don't think I will.
Sha, 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 sha.
Sha, 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 sha.
Ksha.
Cha.
So the reason you're getting there is because the ka is also at the back of your palate. Does that make sense? Ka, 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 ka is going to be further at the back of your palate. So it's almost like the ka is over here, the cha is over here, and the sha is over here. So what you need to do is skip that cha in the middle. I know it's kind of weird, but.
So do it again.
Ksha.
Cha.
Can you say rickshaw?
Rickshaw.
There we go. Thank you, chat.
Okay.
Right? Kshaw.
Rickshaw. Ksha.
Dude, that was brilliant.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, person.
Yeah, like whoever came up with I would never thought of that. So rickshaw.
Sure, rickshaw. Yeah. So.
Right? So that ksha.
Yeah. Okay.
You got it. Got it. Good. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
And then the main part of it is louder.
Yeah.
Give me a ooh.
Kshum.
Good. Beautiful.
It's my throat is a bit sore.
Yeah. So don't do it now. You don't have to do it now. So we won't practice now.
Okay.
But what I would do is I would start with like maybe you can start with like 9 breaths. So wait till you're done being sick.
Yeah.
So do 9 breaths, like 9 rounds. If you can, then extend to like 5 minutes, then 15 minutes. If you are open to something a little bit, it's not really religious, but it's a tool for practice. But you can get like a set of prayer beads. So Eastern prayer beads are going to be 108 beads. And so you want to do 108 rounds. It'll take you maybe somewhere between 15 and 30 minutes, which is totally fine, presuming you're okay doing it. The other thing I have to tell,
Sorry, I'll watch the VOD.
Yeah. So 108 rounds. So that means doing the mantra 108 times. That should be your end goal. Now, a couple of things to remember about this stuff. You don't necessarily have to believe in it. That's okay. If you're willing to give it a shot, that's totally fine. It's also completely fine if you decide to not do this for a while. The one thing I want to ask you is don't forget about it. So it may be a year, it may be 2, it may be 3. And if you want to understand yourself, chant Kshum. If you want to be happy, chant Kshum. It's what's missing from your life, which I know sounds weird.
Okay.
The reason,
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. That's my question is, what's the difference between that and something like the thing? What's the difference between which one you do?
The difference has to do with the specific spiritual energies that you want to cultivate.
Okay.
Now, that's the actual difference. So scientifically, we do know that mantra meditation creates different EEG patterns. so different electrical activity in the brain compared to other kinds of meditation. But I've never seen a study that compares one kind of mantra to another. So there is scientific evidence that mantra meditation is different from like meditating on your breath or something like that. So in my experience, the reason that I teach this stuff, even though there does not have scientific credibility behind it, is because my personal experience and the people that I will teach these mantras to tend to do really well. And after a while, if they stick with it, they come back to me and they say the same thing that I discovered about my mantra, which is like, that was absolutely the right mantra. And then like, you can ask them like, how do you know what does that mean? And it's like hard to describe, but it's just sort of, you just do it for a while and you'll understand.
Yeah.
Right. Because remember, it's subjective, it's experiential.
Mm-hmm. Cool. I'm looking forward to doing it.
Okay, cool.
Open-minded. Yeah. I don't need to know how it works. It just needs to work.
Yeah. Right. So I'd almost say it's kind of like exercise. Like you don't need to know how muscles get built. You just need to do it for a while. The other thing that I feel pretty good about is that, generally speaking, all the benefits of mindfulness, reductions in depression, reductions in anxiety, improvement of compassion, improvement of empathy, greater self-understanding, like all those things are scientific and you'll get that stuff too.
Yeah. Cool.
Cool. Any last thoughts?
Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're very welcome. Any last thoughts or questions before we wrap up for the day?
I guess I'd just express my gratitude a final time. I'm so grateful and kind of excited. I feel good. I feel, like I've got a path forward at least. I'm tempted about even giving you my Prime subscription. It's a toss up between you and Amaranth at the minute, but I think you're going to get it. So thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks for the Prime sub. Much appreciate it. But it's you get more of your money's worth from Amaranth. I'm not sure that
I wouldn't know. I just watched the session you did with her, and other than the zombie dog dream, which sounded horrifying, I found a lot of parallels, and I was quite surprised.
Interesting.
In terms of what...
Yeah. Cool.
Anyway, I don't want to waste any of your time. You've been more than generous, so thank you so much. I look forward to watching the VOD.
Thank you very much for coming on, and I'm going to let that last comment slide. But seriously, dude, thank you very much. I wish you all the best of luck. And so our team will send you one or two other things, okay, after we wrap up today.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Yeah. Take care, man. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Okay. Well, that was neat. Yeah. I need to process for a moment. So here's what I'd say. So, the irony all comes down to your relationship with your dad. I think that's an oversimplification, to be sure. But what the main thing that I want y'all to take away from this is how multi-layered our challenges are, right? So this is why I sometimes get frustrated when I see answers on the internet, right? So if you talk to this person, you may say your career is unfulfilling. You like to edit, you love movies, go into the film industry. Start editing again, start writing, do your passion. What turns you on, right? But the truth is if you're numb on the inside, there's so much more to it than work. Now, work absolutely has an influence, right? So we saw that where because of his rapid rise in his company, he had to adapt certain psychological mechanisms to survive that environment. So his work absolutely has a piece of it. But it's more than that. If we had said, it's all your relationship with your father, that would have been incomplete, right? Because he had to grow up and suppress parts of himself to fit the role and put on his big boy pants and put on his suit at work because he's 25 and has people 20 years his senior that may be answering to him. So there's a piece of it that's work. There's a piece of it that's his dad. There's a piece of it that may be his inability to make jokes, right? There could be a piece of it, like, so we just kind of laid that stuff out because I think that kind of stuff is really more appropriate for therapy. But like, there could be all this stuff around brother and resentment and anger and all that kind of stuff. But you as a human being cannot be simplified to one thing. You as a human being are an amalgamation of your experiences. Everything about the way that your mind works, everything about the way that you behave is not as simple as find your passion, right? It's a constellation of all of these different things. Every single experience that you have activates neurons in your brain. Some of those those neurons in your brain, like in your occipital lobe, where you have visual neurons, your auditory cortex, where you have auditory neurons, your auditory and visual association cortexes. So these signals light up in your brain because you see something, and then your association cortex activates. Your association cortex is where you derive meaning. Those in turn will activate emotional circuits of your brain, limbic system, right? Then you experience an emotion after a visual stimulus. Visual stimulus, association cortex, that has a meaning. Meaning provokes an emotion. Emotion in turn activates the hippocampus. So your amygdala and your hippocampus are very close to each other. Hippocampus is your learning circuitry. So now you've learned something, you've changed. Each and every experience of your life will be cascading this effect on your brain. And so if you really want to understand yourself, if you really want to understand why you do things, understand that who you are cannot be simplified to, I'm lazy. Who you are cannot be simplified to, it all goes back to your mom. Who you are cannot even be simplified to, it's all karma. Right? And that's the other layer too, which is like, I still stand behind the utility of thinking about karmic perspectives. And there's even science to support, not that karma is real, but that if you want to be healthy and especially do things like recover from trauma and stuff like that, you need some kind of internal system that makes sense of the world. So who knows with this guy, right? Like, who knows which of these is right and which of these is wrong? Chances are it's a little bit of all of the above. And I've just done this too many times and I've seen this experience too many times to like, I still think that there's something about karmically going on here. It has a karmic feel to me. When things don't map onto psychology, I start to think about spiritual perspectives. If we can explain it through biology, fantastic. If we can explain it through psychology, fantastic. But for those things that we can, I think it can be functionally useful to entertain these possibilities. And if it resonates with you, fantastic. It's not that this is absolutely true, right? So if y'all are struggling, even at work, this is part of the reason why we've designed like our coaching program the way that we have, is that it's not just all external solutions, right? This is where sometimes you actually need to see a therapist. And this is the kind of deep emotional work that I think is really appropriate for a trained therapist, what we're kind of talking through here. Because there's a lot of family stuff and relationship stuff, and therapists get trained really well with parents, right? So it's all about your dad and all about your mom and Oedipal complex and all that good stuff. So if y'all are struggling to figure out who you are, it's not as simple as just finding like, oh, like I need to like learn to play the saxophone because that's my passion. And then you have people who go into their passion, right? And then they respond on the internet as well. And they say like, don't ever make your passion your career. It'll kill it. And that's because who you are, if you're unhappy in life, like look at all these different layers, right? Like what's actually going on? What does your mind do to your internal impulses? How have you been shaped by your career? What's your relationship with your parents like? Can you engage with yourself authentically? Because discovering who you are and finding happiness, like happiness doesn't come from the outside. Happiness is an internal experience that may in some way be triggered by something from the outside. Right? Someone can say, I love you, but saying I love you and feeling loved are two entirely different things. So when we say happiness comes from the inside, that's not some like yoga calendar, Instagram daily message of positivity, right? It's like really the scientific acknowledgement that saying I love you, if you have a narcissistic parent who's like, I love you so much, let me control your life and treat you with toxicity. I do it because I love you. It's a sacrifice. And feeling loved, right? Because this is what screws up kids who have like narcissistic parents or have parents who, have their own emotional struggles. And thanks for the gifted subs. I see we've got a sub train going. Thank you very much, Wilding. And I saw other people have been gifting as well. Sorry, I'm on a rant. And so that's what's so confusing, right? Is like when a child hears I love you, but they don't feel loved. What they feel is rejected, judged, blamed. My darling, I loved you so much. I gave up my career so I could be a mom. I love you. I've sacrificed everything for you. What do you think a child feels when you say that? They feel beholden. They feel responsible for taking your life away, right? They don't feel loved. They feel burdened. And then it gets fucking confusing because they're being told I love you and they're feeling burdened. And then they start dating someone and they're confused about what love means. And that can manifest in one of two ways. Both are challenging. One is that someone genuinely loves them and says, I love you, and that confuses the hell out of you. I thought love was feeling burdened. And what's more damaging is when they do that to someone else. The way that we express love is by making sacrifices that we hold people responsible for and resent them a little bit afterward. Right? So, I don't know what I was saying, but end of rant. The point is, it's complicated. The point is, you can't be simplified. The point is, it takes time. The point is that just because you can't figure it out because there isn't one variable to the equation doesn't mean that you're hopeless. In fact, quite the opposite. There's so many different dimensions upon which you can improve. And for some people, that feels overwhelming, but that you don't have to do all of them, right? Like any of these will work. Do whatever feels the best to you. If you want to do a weird mystical mantra, go for it. If you want to go see a therapist, go for it. If you want to have a conversation with your dad, go for it. Right? If you want to tell inappropriate jokes in front of your girlfriend, go for it. That one you got to be careful about, right? So take that with a grain of salt. I'm not responsible for what happens with your relationships. Oh, thanks for the gifted subs. Really appreciate it. How can you find a mantra without a teacher? You can't. How can I have success without trying? I don't know. How can I beat Elden Ring without getting good? You know? Everyone wants, so that's okay. So like you can start with Om, by the way. Like that's a pretty safe mantra for you to do. But this is where you may say like, oh, I want to learn mantra, but like I need a teacher. How do I do it without a teacher? You don't do it without a teacher. That's the honest answer. If you look at the meditative traditions and you take them seriously, which is a big problem nowadays, because we tend to discard the stuff from the meditative traditions that we don't like. Right? Because of fairness. How is that fair? If some people get a teacher and some people don't, well, it may not be. Right? So in the East, it's sort of like this idea of karma. So when it's your time, a teacher will present themselves. This guy didn't even want one. And look at what happened. So this is where I know it feels unfair, but like it'll happen when it's time. I do believe that. That's been my experience. And is it unfair? Maybe. Right? So I think if you meditate and you put yourself out there, like if you go to like different meditation workshops or you go to a mantra workshop, like you can find a teacher there. But in all honesty, I think, some of the more mystical or esoteric systems of meditation are like passed down through lineages for good reasons. So you'll get there. Do I believe in predestination? Absolutely not. How do I find a teacher that's legit? You look for one and you'll know. Right? So a lot of times, yeah. Can Dr. K be my teacher? Probably not. Not for meditation practice anyway. I mean, we teach meditation, but like I can't be, I try very hard not to be a spiritual guru. Right? Because and we could go down that road, but we stay away from it on purpose. For those of you that want meditation today, like I taught the Kshum mantra, so I can share a little bit about this. So like if you want to try this mantra, you can, but I think the main things to think a little bit about are let me think a little bit about why I use Kshum. So the Kshum mantra is for people who are well established in a career who want to find happiness. Let me think about the other qualities. Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it. So, like, for people who are well established in a career, want to find happiness, and also want a more spiritual approach to happiness. So, it will, on some level, may improve your career some, but is really about if you've, because it's like the bridge between like being materialistically successful and starting the journey of spiritual success, is how I describe it. Right? Yeah. So it's specific. It's absolutely. So each syllable, whether it's an oo, e, ah, right? Each of those matter. The starting consonant matters. The ending consonant matters. The length of the three syllables matters. So you can start with Om though. Oh, I'm going to have to think about that. What for someone who just started their career but is feeling burnt out? That's an excellent question. I think part of the problem there is that burnout is a constellation that, much like this person, what actually is going on, it's not like there's a month. Well, let me think about that. So like, I'll give you all just an example. So if you're burnt out, there are mantras for what I would call emotional digestion, right? To get rid of the bad feelings. Those are different. Like a cleansing mantra is different from an energizing mantra. And if we look at something like burnout, you can fall into either camp, right? Do you need more energy or do you need to let go of the bad stuff? Maybe you're saying I need to do both. But mantras are going to be geared towards one or the other. So when I've worked with people who are burnt out and I give them a mantra, usually I give them a mantra that's like not burnout related. But as you dig into burnout, you tend to find that burnout is like an umbrella term that encompasses a lot of different experiences. Got it? Any mantra for college testings? I wish. Okay, I'll look into it more. So I'm rusty on mantra. But, when I get time, we can do something more on mantra. We can do like some kind of advanced something on mantra one year. I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon. How can one skip stages of growth in mentality or career? Is there a similar thing with spiritual? Can you skip things on the spiritual path? Absolutely. 100%, right? Okay. So here's what I understand. So Rohan has a question. So you know how you can skip stages of career? So like you can vault past, like you can jump straight to manager, you can get promoted very quickly. Can you do that on the spiritual path? Absolutely. The problem is that you can't do it in this life. So the whole point, if you look at some of these meditative traditions, what they say is that you carry your spiritual XP from one life to the next. So when you spawn at level 100, level 50, or level 1. And so you've skipped past a lot of stuff when you're born. So in a sense, the answer is yes, but it's completely irrelevant to you. Which I know is funny, but but that's honestly the answer that comes to my mind, right? Based on my study of this stuff, that's what the answer would be. So some people are just in different places spiritually, right? Some people are like born and become the Dalai Lama. Some people are born and end up teaching meditation on Twitch. Some people are born and end up doing meditation on Twitch, right? It's just we are all in our own place. And I think the problem is if you're thinking about skipping, like there's a problem there, right? Why do we want to skip stuff? Because we don't want to do the work. And then if you don't want to do the work, you're not in the right attitude of meditation. That's not going to work. Right? So how do I know this isn't my first life? That's a fantastic question. And I'd say you don't. Right? So much like other things, how do you know you're alive? It's experience. So our knowledge of things comes from experience. How do I know what a strawberry tastes like? It's experience. Right? So for the people who, you can believe in past lives, but that's just a belief. There's no proof of a belief, right? A belief is by definition not knowledge. So if you want understanding of past lives and things like that, it's all based on experience. So when people have experiences in meditation, they come to particular conclusions. Now, does that mean that past lives are real? No, because once again, it's an experience of a subjective individual. Right? How is any of this stuff scientific? It's not. Right? But I think we're pretty clear about when we deviate from science, right? Like there's like where science gets us, and then there's like stuff beyond science, which over time can sometimes become science. So let's just remember, for example, that 100 years ago, people were saying that you can meditate to improve depression and anxiety. And science was like, that's ridiculous. No, you can't. And then we studied it. So over time, as science advances and grows, some of the things that people believe turn out to be true, and some of the things turn out, or not some, most turn out to be false, which is the value of science. Right? Because science ultimately can tell us which of these weird spiritual beliefs has value to it and which of them don't. Right? It's cool though. I mean, I'm okay. I think the only mistake that I don't want to make is representing something falsely. Right? So I'm okay sharing stuff that is not scientific, just as long as we're not misrepresenting it, right? Does that make sense? Yeah. I think explore it, man. It's fun. Like, if you don't like it, don't bother. But I like weird experiences and stuff, you know, from like meditation stuff. It's neat. I enjoy it. I find it personally fulfilling. So the other thing that I'd say, so the reason that I personally gravitate some towards non-science is because as someone who's like done a lot of scientific study, the basic problem that I run into, and if anyone has an answer for this, this would be fantastic, is that there are problems that people have today that science cannot answer. And so if I'm trying to figure things out and science doesn't have an answer, then what do I do? Right? Like that's the challenge. That's why I lean towards mysticism, or why I've come to appreciate some aspects of mystical experience. Because like, I just don't know. I've found limits to science, which is not science's fault. But it's like for an individual, it's like, what do you do at that point, right? And that's where I think you should continue exploring what other human beings have found. And that exploration is wrought with like all kinds of problems. So like, you know, I took a pyramid healing course back when I was studying meditation, and I don't talk about pyramid healing. Like, I mean, there's all kinds of stuff. One day, maybe I'll tell you guys stories, but, you know, like I took all these like weird, like alternative medicine courses, and like most of that stuff I've gone through for, you know, in my own exploration. I'm like, this is BS. Right. And the other thing that people, sometimes when I talk to people about alternative medicine, they're like, oh my God, like you love alternative medicine so much. Why are you telling me to take an SSRI? It's like, well, you know, I did all this stuff and then I ended up going to medical school because I realized that, you know, a lot of this stuff is BS and there's some value to it, right? And we have to be careful scientifically to not be arrogant and assume that we know everything. Really common mistake we make in science, in medicine especially. But, you know, at the end of the day, you got to be a little bit careful because people can believe all kinds of stuff and it may not have much to it. Right? Okay. What are we, who are we interviewing? Oh, SSRIs are placebo. They're not placebo, but there are studies that show that 70% of the efficacy of an SSRI is placebo and only 30% is pharmacologic. Who are we rating? Did I not say rating? Oh, did I say who are we interviewing? I meant rating. My voice can't take another one, chat. Yeah, I did disclaimer for stream today. I can do it again. So I'm pretty sure I did it. But just a reminder, everything we discuss on stream, or everything we did talk about on stream today is intended to be for educational purposes only, and nothing is intended to be taken as medical advice. So please, you know, go see a licensed professional if y'all have questions or concerns. I'm pretty sure I did disclaimer. Okay, we've got. Let's see. I'm seeing like some of these. I see there's a small streamer, Raid Clicky. Who's Clicky? We're gonna check a couple of these. Okay, make sure they're live. Because sometimes y'all debate me into rating someone who is not live. So I want to be careful about DZ Okay. Y'all want to do Minecraft or artwork? What do y'all think? Art? Okay, we can do artwork. Hold on.
Hello, Daichi. Hi. Hello, how's it going?
Okay. Just want to make sure this is... I mean, they don't need to be... Okay, let's raid Dizakawa. Looks like they're doing artwork of some kind. Cool. The Deviant Art Collective. Neat. Cool. So send Dizakawa some love, and we'll see y'all on Monday. Have a good weekend, chat.